welcome to the August 12th meeting of the Upper Wabash River Basin Commission. We start our meetings by doing introductions, so we'll go around the table, start with Rick, go around the table, and then everybody will introduce who you are and where you're from.
Rick Emerald, J County and Soil and Water District.
Jared Hahn, I'm the Wells County Surveyor.
Doug Sugling, representative of Wells County SWCD.
Blake Gerber, Wells County Commissioner.
Mike Whirling, Adams County Surveyor.
Dave Packer, representing the Huntington County Commissioners.
Dean Tonner, Adams County SWC.
Doug Bauman, Commissioner, Adams County.
Nate Thomas, Indiana DNR, Lake River Enhancement Program.
Bella Foster, DNR, Division of Water. Carly Miles, also DNR, Division of Water. Maya Rizza, Allen County Soil and Water. Susie Elo, Allen County Soil and Water. Cheryl Jarrett, Huntington County Soil and Water. Taylor Suman, J County Soil and Water.
Garrett Watson, State Association of Soil and Water.
And Doug Nussbaum is,
He had to take a quick phone call.
okay.
He will return.
Kyle Lund will be walking in here in a few minutes, I think, from Huntington County. Okay. Katie Blair will not be here, our administrative secretary, so we are taking notes as we go. The June 10th, the meeting, the minutes for the June 10th meeting were sent out. Does anybody have any questions? Here, Doug, send that back here so we can write down, give it to Mike to use that as a reference to somebody talks.
What's coming in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's
Somebody talks. All right, the minutes for the last meeting. Any questions about or comments? They were sent out with an email.
move to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so opposed, nobody. We'll Doug, when this gets bound to you, just pass it back and I'll have the other two sign it. So everybody on the board here, just sign off. All right, treasurer's report. Basically in June, we had $1,000 annual funding come in from J County, Adams County, and Wells County SWCDs. And that was only activity in June, and there was no activity in July. Currently, the checking account has $16,450. $18,450. So that's what we've got in the checking account. Any questions about the financial report for the last 2 months?
Motion to approve the financials.
Okay, Blake motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Jared. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. No claims to be passed around. Here. Why don't you guys share that? Here's a couple. Budget for Rick, do you, let's see what we got.
You got it. I've got it on my phone.
You got it? Okay. Rick, you want to, for the budget for next year? This is I apologize, the one I sent out in an email needed to be revised. So we can vote on this the next meeting, but this would be the proposed budget for 2027. The worksheet shows the previous 4 years, what we were spent. And then the backside, there's a worksheet showing both what was spent, what was come in, what has been brought in through the funding.
You might check your math on either the 26 or 27.
I think that's what was corrected.
One of those is not correct.
No, it didn't, yeah,
The
what?
27 is not correct.
2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that does have the 500 in there. Okay.
Say the 500 throws it off.
No, you're right. Well, yeah,
And I guess, are we expecting Jay County to increase their appropriation?
that's to be discussed.
Okay.
But this is just to get an idea for the budget. Can vote on it next meeting. The big expense on this budget would be, the big change would be the LAIR grant, that we would have to have the $10,000 cash match. So that would be the proposed increase in the budget for next year, having come up with, allocate $10,000 out of our funds. So other than that, most of the other expenses are just going to carry on. So any questions about, other than some of the math?
If we have 18,000-ish in our
Correct.
funds.
And
10 next year for that, I mean, it's gonna take us down to where we don't have much of an operating fund.
based, it looks like we've got $12,000, $12,044.57 that's not allocated in the budget
Right.
right now.
Right.
So unless we have to dip into that, there's going to be $12,000 left over for start next year that has not been allocated into a budget fund.
And if we budget 10,000, or whatever we're budgeting,
Right.
I don't think we can budget more money than what we have available. So we can only budget if we have 12,000 budgeted right now, there's only 12,000 outside of the budgeted amount right now.
Correct.
We can only budget $12,000 next year. Because the way the state
Oh,
looks
okay.
at
I
it
see what you're saying.
is we could spend that money before the end of this year and we don't have it. So what you'll probably have to do is budget like the 12,000, what do we have left? And then you'll have to do an additional for whatever we don't spend this year. That's what we'll probably have to do to get our budget approved.
Okay. So,
It's just the way the state makes us do our budget.
correct. There's never been that issue in the previous grants.
It's not because of the grant, it's because,
No, but when they've allocated in the previous cycles, when there's been budgeted,
I realize that. But we may have to, just saying, we may have to adjust our budget for the proposed budget for next year.
okay. But we have to, the proposed budget also takes into account, okay.
We can only budget
Yep.
for next year whatever is unappropriated for this year, plus what we anticipate collecting next
Right,
year.
so we're gonna have more than,
We may
around
not
20
be able to budget
we'll have
that.
around 22,000.
That number isn't right,
Well, it's $500 more,
and that's anticipating that
12,000.
Supposed to be 12,000
It's
instead.
12,000, 10,500. Cut and paste.
like I say, in your original amount, you were anticipating that Jay County is going to pay $2,000. I think that's
No,
probably not gonna happen.
1050. All right. We're not gonna have, it's a numbers game on paper, it's not,
Realize that.
okay, so what are you suggesting?
We may need to look at our numbers a little more before we approve it.
Oh, that's, okay. We'll look at it,
Bring it up at the end.
bring it up again.
Okay.
We usually start this either the last meeting or this meeting.
We may have to adjust our budget for next year.
Phil Iker down on that list, that he's here. Where's Kyle? Kyle's not, okay, he must, maybe he got up some water. There he is, there's Kyle. Okay. Any other comments about the budget? Okay. Old business. All right. Since our last meeting, we were notified the Laird Division of DNR awarded a watershed diagnostic study for us in Phase 1, the eastern third of the Wabash River. And Nate Thomas is here to talk with us about the grant. So this is Nate.
You're okay? Do you need me up the witness stand?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Actually, for the
Yeah.
streaming, it's better if you're sitting in front of that microphone.
Yeah.
Buttons up, that's the main thing.
Yep. All right. You guys hear me okay? Awesome. Well, first and foremost, congratulations again. You guys have been awarded a grant for $80,000 from the Lake and River Enhancement Program. Again, my name's Nate Thomas, Program Manager and Grant Administrator through the Lake and River Enhancement Program with the DNR Division of Fish, Wildlife, and Nature Preserves. Before we kind of get into some of the introductory items with this grant, I think we need to walk back a little bit on how we got here. Again, this is my first meeting with everybody, so I'm under the impression that this grant is more in a response to not receiving grant dollars for a 319 watershed management plan. In response to not getting those grant dollars last year, we were approached to perhaps contribute to what we would consider similar efforts in the watershed. An equivalent or short of a 319 watershed management plan, we offer watershed diagnostic studies. Those are typically done on a much smaller scale than what we're looking at here. If you think of a lake, we would typically focus on the watershed surrounding those lakes. It ends up being much smaller than the areas that the Upper Wabash covers. So one of the things we need to do, and this will be either through, I've been working with Doug primarily, but as a group decide a couple things. One, we need to decide how we can take the framework of our watershed diagnostic study and apply it in a way where we can then bring it to EPA or 319 to get projects off the ground, or use that as an instrument to identify projects that could have perhaps be funded through 319, or, and me and Doug have discussed this option as well. The application deadline, for what I'm aware, is coming up for a new 319 watershed management plan to apply for another grant. See how that goes. If you're awarded that grant, then maybe Lair steps away and you work through the 319 process as you typically would. It sounds like that was your primary goal as an organization last year. Perhaps you get awarded a grant this year and you proceed accordingly. Again, we kind of step back from that. If you choose to apply for that grant and you get denied again, it's probably valuable that we discuss that with IDEM staff to see what's going on why you're not getting that grant. Take that information and then hopefully adapt it to our watershed diagnostic study that we have the grant dollars for. My goal with this, and hopefully your goal with this, is to make sure that with this diagnostic study, we make it meaningful for your organization to move forward with projects in the future for sediment nutrient reduction in the watershed. How we get there, there's a couple different ways that I discussed, but that's going to be kind of a decision your organization is going to have to make on moving forward. Just know with us, we have $80,000 secured to move towards the diagnostic study here. Our grant's good for 2 years, so we do have a pretty broad window to work in with that. We operate on an 80-20 cost share match, so we have 80,000 and up. We would expect a whole match of $20,000 from Upper Wabash. That can be done as 10,000 cash, and we offer up to half as in-kind match. That's typically coordinated through the contractor that's hired to do the study, but it's often pretty well received with those we work with. So the 10,000 match is firm on our end, and then up to $10,000 in-kind match as well. With that, I believe Doug sent around kind of our boilerplate scope of services for watershed diagnostic studies prior to this meeting. Is that correct? Okay. I brought copies with me if you would like them. Not knowing how many were in attendance, I don't know if I have enough for everybody, but I do have some that you guys can look over. Again, this is pretty basic compared to, I think, what you're looking for as an organization. We typically look at more snapshot sampling, so we'd have to kind of broaden out our water quality sampling and monitoring part of this project. But you can get an idea of what we would typically offer. Now, that being said, we usually give grants in the area of $40,000 for these. So knowing that we would need more robust study here, we doubled that to give to your organization, because we are going to have to broaden what we typically offer as part of our diagnostic studies. Also, just to kind of help give people an idea of how we would have to do that, I did print out a handout as well that comes from the 319 website about what things they would look for in a typical watershed management plan. They identify as the 9 key elements. Some of those we already have identified in our typical diagnostic study scope of services. Some we may have to, again, make a little more robust given the scope of the study. With that, and knowing what kind of lies ahead as far as the possibility for applying for another 319 grant, working with Lara in the future, a couple decisions that have to get made on your end, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have right now.
So, okay, so we awarded $80,000, 2 years.
Yeah, it'll be good through the end of 2028.
Meaning what?
Meaning all of our cash has to be dispersed, the study has to be finalized, and we have a report in hand, typically.
Okay, so that leads me to what you started with.
Mm-hmm.
So if we reapply for a 319, if we so choose,
Mm-hmm.
were you saying we were gonna kind of like be on hold?
We would then step back as an
Well,
organization.
no, what I'm saying is, are we doing something till we find out? Or you're saying maybe the first year, we're not even gonna do anything until we find out whether we're approved or not on a 319?
Typically, we've gotten, if the 319 grants, application is due by September 1st. In the past, we've gotten a letter, the last 2 years, by October saying, sorry. And I said that's to date, and he said, well, so we can just kind of cruise along, and then finalize things after you know whether you're in the loop, whether you're going to be approved or not.
When does your 2-year clock start running? When we sign that agreement?
We already have that set. The clock's technically running now. We're doing some administrative work in the background as far as getting you guys reactivated as a state vendor. And then there'll be the contract signing and such. So we have a couple weeks that are already just going to be in limbo already. But technically, the clock started once you receive the grant, because we just have a set end date regardless of when we actually get stuff on the ground here.
So if we don't know, if we would know something by October, it's really not going to affect a lot. The clock is.
Minimally, yeah, correct.
So what's the difference between a watershed diagnostic study versus a planning study?
Like a watershed management plan through 319. 319 is going to be much more robust. They typically cost more money, but there's a lot more sampling. And again, once you get into these key 9 elements, you're going to see they're a little more broad than what we would typically require in our diagnostic study. And again, just the breadth and scope of those studies are typically much wider than what we would typically see on a diagnostic study on our end, what we'd traditionally grant for. But again, that's why we did increase the grant dollars for this project in anticipation of that.
So I'm under the assumption that the next 2 years, completing this diagnostic study is gonna be a lever for 319.
That's our hope, correct.
So there's no chance of 319 for at least 2 years.
Well, not necessarily. Let me back up. We would pursue this if you were denied another 319 watershed management plan grant, which will be here in September. Assuming you don't get that, we would try to build a study that would mimic that, that would allow you to implement projects through future 319 grants. Not necessarily to build a watershed management plan, but to hopefully, when we're done with this, have a similar vehicle in which you could pursue grants through that.
So the $80,000 is basically gonna be spent to a firm such as Christopher Burke to do the work?
We have a list of contractors we could put out to bid. We certainly wouldn't hold
Well,
Burke to
I'm just
get it,
using
but yeah,
Christopher Burke as an example.
as an example, sure. Yep. And we would work with that contractor to understand exactly where we're at on how we want to build this study out, knowing it'd be not quite as typical as what our typical diagnostic studies would look like. They would be well aware of that.
If we get the 319 grant, if we apply for it in September and get it, what you're saying is that would probably be it's probably gonna be a better study.
Correct. I think it more aligns with your priorities and goals as an organization.
And you guys are okay with, if we apply for that, if we would receive it, of either giving that layer grant back?
We would
Not
rescind it, yeah. We
You're
would just,
you're just gonna reallocate it in a future grant cycle or
yeah,
whatever?
yep. And that, I
There's
mean,
no
that
hard
happens.
feeling. There's no hard
Absolutely not,
feelings.
no, 0-0, no, none at all. So that's where we're at now. We could kind of be in a holding pattern. Again, this is more kind of up to your organization on how you want to proceed. Just know that, you know, we're still going to work in the background to make sure you're getting the vendor status, a contract for that grant signed, and that'll happen here in the preceding weeks.
So, I know Katie and I got you the,
Correct.
okay, so we're okay, there's not been a snafu yet.
No, no.
Walk the commission through, all right, we don't get a they want to apply, we don't apply, we don't get an award at a 319. What's the steps to get this going?
What we would typically do, and again, this is being a little less traditional than normal, then we have to start putting our heads together. And again, how we want to build a study to mimic that watershed management plan. Part of that's going to be hopefully through input from IDEM on what are we missing in their application, what would they expect out of us, and where are the things we can kind of make up the differences from our diagnostic study to that watershed management plan. I think we have enough information there, then we build out that scope of services to where we can specifically identify the data and the needs through these watersheds that you have, to then, once we have a full scope of services, we put that out to bid to 3, 4, 5 contractors as typical bid process. Contractor selection, then you'd work through that contractor to start building that study and working with them. We are here for, you know, technical questions, obviously grant administration, and everything along the way, but they would then be kind of your primary contact for that study development.
Okay, so explain to the group, with the 319, when we did a watershed management plan, we usually that involved having money to pay somebody to execute it. Mm-hmm. That's not the case with this grant.
Can you clarify that?
Well, we'd hire somebody to be a watershed coordinator. They'd be a 2-year contract, 3-year contract.
This is a little different. Yeah, we're essentially paying a contractor to put a study together, not necessarily be a watershed coordinator or staff.
Right, so with this, to explain to the group, there's, who's gonna be handling the paper, the invoices coming in, then handling it to you? How's that all handled? Because that's with a 319 or 205J, there would be hired a person to be the watershed coordinator that would handle that.
Okay. I would primarily handle that. If you get an invoice, that can all go to me. We would pay 80% of that balance through our financial mechanisms. May take 1, 2, 3 weeks for money to hit your bank account that we have on file. You would then satisfy the balance of that invoice with your 20% match, either 10% cash and 10% in kind, however that may be. But we will pay 80% of that invoice as they come in.
You pay that direct to the consultant.
We pay that direct to you.
So we've got to have enough money in our funds to make that payment.
Correct. Yeah, and most of those times,
It's a reimbursement grant.
it's, It depends. There's no requirement for how we do that. We've had folks that have money in their balances that will front pay that invoice and await our 80% payment. There's others that await our 80% payment before fulfilling the invoice, correct? And typically with the contractors we work with, knowing that there's a layer grant behind it, they understand there may be some lag with that.
That's been our history here. They understand. The invoice has gotta go to the state, then they'll get the money.
Yeah, yeah.
No, okay. Just help me understand. So, we got this $80,000. Somewhere along the line, we implement a watershed diagnostic study in a 2-year period. Okay, during this 2-year period, we have the ability to apply for a 319.
No, we're just doing that right this year. If you wanna do it, well, that's the next topic. If you wanna reapply, we'll apply it this year.
The question is, if we applied for 319 and we were successful, is that 319 gonna duplicate what you're doing on this what we're doing on this
It
diagnostic
would
study?
take the place of this.
Take the place.
Yeah,
We're gonna do one or the other.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, no, good point. If we don't have a 319 at the end of this year, then we will implement the water diagnostic study. We're not gonna reapply for a 319 next year or the following year. We'll get through the water diagnostic study, and then if we go for a 319, we can say, look, we've got this much done to implement, to go for a 319. We just need the 319 to fill out what we don't have with the water diagnostic study. Is that?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is not necessarily marry the two together, but make sure ours is compatible with
Yes.
what they would typically expect going through their process.
Okay, I guess my question is simply, what type of a timeline is there before there would actually be any kind of a project?
That's a good question. Yep. So let's say the 319 doesn't go fantastic. We are moving forward with our watershed diagnostic study. Based on our typical data monitoring or our data collection, we would look at base flow and storm flow. So that typically is going to occur in the spring. So we're looking at a project timeline of some data collection next spring, depending where you have selected sites in the watershed with the contractor. Again, this is going to have to be a little more robust. So our typical watershed diagnostic study would be wrapped up by the end of next year of 27. Knowing it may be more robust trying to meet the 319 requirements, perhaps this goes into 28 and we utilize that full 2 years of the grant cycle. So potentially 28, 29 for projects identified and designed maybe on the ground, just to give you realistic timelines.
And things that we've done, planning grants, et cetera, over, let's say, the last 5 or 6 years. Okay, we've done different. None of that data is useful. It's all data that was, we collected it, we looked at it, read about it, and now that data is just obsolete, no longer useful.
I don't know if I'd go that far. And again, without knowing what data was collected and how, part of our diagnostic study is looking through the review of what has been done in the past. So they may be able to utilize that stuff, but also the need for current data is going to be pretty strong. So I think there may be a balance in there. But they'll try to identify work that has been done and see what can be useful, especially when identifying potentially problematic areas in the watershed.
Yeah, we identified 4 areas and actually did work on 1.
3.
So there are still 3 areas out there that's been identified and studied. Don't know if
No, there was work done on,
All three were addressed. And the original 319 for Phase 1, the Eastern Third, all 3 of those projects have been addressed.
we didn't do all 3 of them.
We didn't do all 3 of them. We were just involved with 1, but the other 2 were
But
addressed.
the grant that we did helped suffice the NDOT, any others, to make those 2 happen. So
And then,
That's what speeded up the process because we had that 319. I guess ultimately my question is, we did the 319, we got turned down. Are we gonna have to go through that same process to figure out how to write the grant, or
Well,
we're just tweaking a few words? I mean, my struggle is, I don't even know whether I hear what you're saying, but I'm almost thinking, why do we even apply for 319? Let's just get moving.
okay. To address what Doug brought up earlier, the last 2 years, the 319 folks said you need to update your 2008 watershed management plan. I mean, they basically said you need to update it. Okay. Part of it, I think Kyle Quantz explained it was some of the standards used by IDM, or not, yeah, or the feds, EPA had changed, and you needed to have it updated. So the data, as Nate indicated, they'll cite the plans. Any good diagnostic study or study, 319 watershed management plan is going to cite the history of what's been done. So from what I can tell, Kyle, I think we just need to tweak the previous application. I haven't spent a lot of time with it. We could hire somebody to do it.
No, I don't think we can hire somebody.
On the premise, like Jared suggested, or was suggested before, is if we get it, then they get paid. If they don't, but I don't think there's a need to. It's just a matter of either Katie and I, we both sit down and find
Well,
time
yeah,
to
that's what
tweak it.
I'm with him. We don't have the money
To hire
to
somebody.
hire someone again.
On a maybe.
Well, no, last year was the first time we hired somebody. Otherwise, it had all been done. Stacia had done the previous ones. Henderson. Well, no, she did do the first
My thing is,
one.
okay, as I recall, and I was absent for 4 years, okay, as I recall, we did hire someone to write a grant, and we paid, and it was unsuccessful, and if we
We're not-
approach that
we're not gonna do that again.
the only way I would pay that person is if we're successful.
Okay, I think I think all we need to do is tweak the previous years. It's the same data, it's the same application. It's just make it for this year rather than last year.
Well, I kind of agree with Kyle a little bit, you know, why not pursue the $80,000 and work that? And
So,
at the completion of that, if you want to apply for a 319,
so my fear is we go down that path and we get it close to what they need, but we don't quite get all the requirements that are needed for a future 319, 205J, whatever grant. And that we do that, and it's a study, it's a diagnostic study, and it's close to a watershed management plan, but it's not quite what they need. And then that makes us unsuccessful in future grant applications. My opinion, we need to apply for the 319 grant for the watershed management plan. Kind of hit the pause button on this one. In October, we should know whether we've got it or not, and then go ahead and then decide what we're doing then. We're either gonna do a 319 watershed management study, or we're gonna take a chance on this.
Well,
That's my opinion.
The more I listen, Nate, I understand what you're saying. They're gonna identify what we messed up on. Maybe.
That's what I would hope. As a grant administrator myself, if someone were to come to me and ask, hey, why aren't we getting a grant? What are things we could do? We're always more than welcome to help somebody identify those. So I'd like to think that it'd be the same way. And just to kind of get to your point of, you know, why go back to the 319 when we have this money secure? I feel like part of this is kind of a square peg round hole, and we're going to do our best to fit in a round hole, but there may be the risk of maybe it's not exactly what they're looking for. And if your goals and priorities more align with the 319 watershed management plan moving forward, then it's probably best to at least pursue that, knowing that it's, you know, maybe a 6-week delay in getting this started, which in our timeline really isn't critical.
last year I did ask Miranda Wentz of IDM, why did we get rejected? What did we need to do wrong? What did we do to make this better? There wasn't anything really specific. I still have the email. I can send it to you. But it looked like it was, she tweaked, a few things here, a few things there. It didn't look, there was no major, you dropped the ball here, or you didn't have this. That wasn't the issue.
If we're gonna hire a contractor to write this, that can be in that requirement that this has to meet the clean water diagnostic studies.
Say it again.
It's got, their requirements need to meet the 319 studies requirements.
It'll certainly be our goal to develop a scope of services that best reflects that.
But we might not be able to, for the amount of dollars,
Yeah.
we might not be able to get that. When we put it out for bid, it may come back that it's 200,000 to do that level of study. And we have 80 from them, and basically we got 10 cash that we can put towards this. In that case, we don't do anything at that point.
I will say, you do have our grant, and we may not be as robust as a 319 watershed management plan or the activities that may follow it. But we do still offer feasibility, design, construction on our end that this diagnostic stuff could set you up for as well. So it's not just a black hole wasted in
I'm not saying that
diagnostic
it's
study.
wasted
No, I
doing
know.
what you're
No. That wasn't in response to your comment.
But I mean, I'm not saying that, I don't want to imply that this is a wasted effort. This is not 100% surety that we're going to be successful in a future 319 or 205J grant with this study. That's why I think we should apply for the 319. If we don't get it, then we go down this path, and there may be other layer projects later on because of this study that we could apply for. With our finances, we got about one shot.
How much, okay, so if we apply for a 319 grant, we're gonna know by around the end of September whether or not we get it, right?
October,
Yeah, okay.
in the last 2 years, we've gotten a letter in October saying sorry.
If we sign up with this now, how much money are we gonna spend between now and September, October?
I wouldn't spend.
Zero.
Pardon?
We're not gonna spend any.
Well, okay, but if he's gonna be doing work, if we sign up now, he's going to continue to do work along this line. And,
But that's not expenses out of the grant money.
I'm just gonna help develop a
Yeah,
scope of services, but that's.
what do we have to lose by signing up now? And if we get the 319 grant, he says, no harm, no foul,
Hit
thank
the
you.
pause button, right.
Yeah, you know.
And I'm gonna do that, but I don't wanna waste your time or anyone else's time developing a scope of services if you're gonna get the 319 grant. We will do that.
But that's, I mean, you know, I'm looking at what we have to risk.
Well, the
By
scope
doing
of
that.
services is dependent upon going back to Miranda Wentz at IDM and saying, okay, we weren't awarded 319. What do we need to do to make sure when we proceed with this diagnostic study that we are going to be aligned with the intent of a 319, of a watershed management plan? Now, the main beneficiary,
You asked what the risk is.
Yeah.
I think if we just go down the path of the layer grant and we miss the mark, the risk is we do not have enough funding to apply for another 319 grant later to fix it.
Well,
That's the
what I'm
risk.
asking.
We're done at that
Well,
point.
if we do this, how much are we at risk to spend between now and the 1st of October?
$0.
$0. So we could get this going, and then we'll know if we get the 319 grant, and we're 2 months ahead on this process if we sign it now. And if we get the 319, we cancel this, and he said he's not gonna hold a grudge against us.
I think that's the best end game there is. I really do.
That's explanation I've heard.
so the main beneficiary of a diagnostic study is gonna be the SWCDs. They're the ones, as my understanding, they need this in order to apply for,
They need one or the other.
they need something to be able to apply for grants.
Yeah.
So Taylor's here, Dean's here from the Adams County SWC. You still haven't got somebody hired to run it yet, right? Okay. Wells County, she's not here. They've changed people too. Hey, Taylor, do you have anything to offer about what you would like to see? No, this one, right? Or,
We're in the process of writing a Clean Water Indiana grant because we didn't get funded last year for the ideas that we had, but this year it's for equipment, so it doesn't really align with the upper Wabash maintenance of watershed.
no, but the water diagnostic study will allow you to then, if we have a study, it will allow the SWCDs to,
Apply for a 319 to do work in that watershed.
okay. So, in other words, you're saying pursue it. You're in favor, okay, and the same thing, I guess, with the, I said something to Mike. If we don't have it, my understanding, and that's what I've been told, and is if you don't have the studies, you can't apply for the grants. I mean, Doug's talking about projects, but if we don't have those, the watershed management plan or a diagnostic study, then the grant, you can't apply for the grant to get a project going, whatever it be.
What I like, what Nate's presented and I like is the fact that if we get involved with the $80,000 opportunity, that there'll be a study done of past activities that we've completed.
Yes.
And I think the past activity we've completed is very valuable because, long story short, it's, a lot of the stuff that would happen is going to show the same thing that we already studied. It's going to show the same stuff, maybe a different location, but why continue to create wheels with taxpayers' money when it's grants? Just because it's grant money doesn't mean it's not taxpayers' money. We need to be very frugal. If I operated Adams County Commissioner's business, like we're talking about right now, I would not deserve to be reelected. Period. So if we can utilize what we've already done over the last how many years on the 3 planning things that we've done on 3 sections, right? That data has got to have some value. It's got to have value.
But I'm under the impression they've requested you update that plan.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
So that data could be reviewed, but may not be utilized for future projects. That's my impression through the 319 feedback so far.
But what guarantee is there that we don't go through all of this stuff again and end up in the same place that we are right now?
I'm not sure I can offer any guarantees, other than that we get a study completed, which
I know.
is going to be required.
Doug,
I agree with this gentleman right here.
Dave, that's good.
Dave.
But what you just said is part of this is all, there's been 4 projects that have resulted, physical projects. You know, the 3 in Adams County and the one here in Bluffton along the riverbank that have been directly funded because of the watershed management plan for the middle section and the eastern section of the upper Wabash.
So what do we need? Do you need a motion to pursue the 319 grant? What do we need? So we can move
So
on.
is the consensus, reapply for the 319, is due September 1st, look into that, and still move forward with the, whatever preliminary work
Move forward as far as you can.
with the water diagnostic study through LAIR. And then once, by October, if we haven't received the letter, Katie or I can inquire with Miranda Wentz down at IDM, where are we at?
So is that what you need a motion to do that, or what?
Proceed for, well, who wants to proceed what? Reapply for the 319 while still moving forward with the Lair grant?
I will make a motion that Upper Wabash reapplies for a 319 in this year's sign-up based upon Nate's explanation of if we can get the 319, great. If not, we'll have the information that we can proceed onward with the Lair grant, hopefully getting enough information what was needed in the 319 to proceed with this $80,000 grant.
I'll second that.
Can we make that a little clearer that I can write that down?
We're going to apply for the 319 grant for a watershed management plan. And we are going to continue on with the Lair grant as far as we possibly can until we know, without expending funds, until we know if we have received said 319 grant.
Without expending funds, I'm sure you put that in.
The only thing, okay.
If we do not, if we are not
Remember,
successful,
We're talking, income, we're talking, 10,000 cash.
Yes.
that's why I say we got one shot.
Yeah.
If
So
the- if-
that means we got one shot, got 10,000, continue there, we got 10,000, we owe 10,000 cash plus in kind, 10, okay?
Maximum.
Meaning, we can't afford to pay anyone to resubmit this 319.
Correct. That, I think that was understood before.
Yeah.
That was pretty clear, we're not hiring anybody. So the 10 would be, the 10 cash would be spent over a 2-year period,
Correct.
not this budget or this year. It would be
Right.
spent as we
So
incur
2 years is really gonna be like 14 months.
27, 48.
27, 28, through the end of.
The end of 28.
So, okay, gotcha.
Was there a second on that?
Yeah, so,
You can't keep up, what is it?
so Dave, in the past, as I recall, the 319s, the invoice would come in, and then Stacia would submit it, and 80% of it was paid by whatever, our 10%, et cetera. It was paid finally. The state would reimburse what their percentage was, and then the Upper Wabash River Basin would put their percent, and then we'd pay the invoice.
we just need to make sure, if we are successful in that the contractor, consultant, whoever is doing that knows they're not gonna get, we're not gonna have the funds.
There'll be a little lag.
There's gonna be a lag. They're gonna have to submit an invoice. When we get paid, they will get paid.
Typically, the contractors know that, because I remember having to explain to them, there's no overcharge. This is it. You are within this budget, you can't say overcharge for this. This isn't like a municipality or a county. And most of them understood that. There was a couple I remember thinking, well, no, this is it. There's no extra money. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
For clarification, I'll continue working with you on getting your administrative stuff together, putting a contract together for the grant, and moving forward as needed with the Lair stuff. Work for you? All right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I look forward to working with you guys. Yep.
Okay, well, we're just gonna talk money now, so. All right, funding, request funding, okay, we had, talked last meeting about the state budget. It's coming up for 2027, 28, 29. Do we want to apply, request state funding like we did 2 years ago, or a year ago? 2025. I sent out to the executive committee some information about that.
So I have a question. When you say apply for state funding, Are you talking about trying to get into the governor's budget? Or are you talking about trying to get a legislator to include it in the state budget?
Well, last time we wrote Travis Holman, and we have all four representatives that are part of the Upper Wabash River Basin area. And that's what we're trying to get into their
They're wanting to try to do it through
legislative. Well, the same thing as the Maumee
The Maumee is in the governor's budget.
government. Okay, that's right. So, anyways, we didn't get anything because they were in cutting mood, and
I'm gonna guess that they've got a pretty big hole that they're digging right now that
Yep.
they're gonna be trying to backfill, but that's just a guess.
so the plan would be, if we were going to pursue this, we would need, I would suggest meeting with the four representatives. We know one of them, they all have contests, right? Yes, they all have, Travis won't be back. So we're gonna have a new state senator from this part of the area. So in order to promote this, we need to, I would suggest we need to meet, and we've met with Matt before. But anyways, what are your thoughts about trying to ask this, the state for money? We are one of the four river basin commissions that we are not funded by them, by the state. We do not get state money. The other three do. So Jared's explained the current fiscal climate there. Do we want to pursue this?
Reason why we shouldn't?
I'm gonna say it never hurts to ask.
Because the answer is no if you don't.
The answer is automatically no if you
Yes.
don't ask.
Yeah.
But
At least make them aware that we need funding or something.
never hurts to ask.
Jared, you mentioned two choices, which
Well, I guess where I was going with that is if you want to be in the governor's budget, it's too late. If you want to do it legislatively, that's still an option. But
So what's the timeline for the governor's budget?
about July of,
And middle end of June.
Yeah, I'm not,
and you've got to have, you've got to have the governor that wants you in there. That's the, we've never been in there before. That's going to be a big lift to get us in there. Once you're in the governor's budget, it's a lot easier to stay in the governor's budget.
I think Rod starts that in February.
Yes, and we've been in the governor's budget for a number of years at the MRBC. You're probably we're going to have to go through and get in legislatively to start with. That's probably the most likely way of doing it. I'm just not very optimistic this year.
all right, so since this is not part of our regular yearly cycle, the key budget preparation deadlines, August 14th, financial data verification deadline with the State Board of Accounts fiscal analysis is due. August 24th, final agency operating and biennial budget submissions due to the State Board of Accounts. August to November, state agency budget submission window. November to December, state budget agency reviews submissions and conducts hearings. And then December, bipartisan state budget committee hearings take place for select agencies. I'm not sure how we play, other than
So, and I don't know.
2 years ago in '24, we submitted the letters in December to the four legislators.
I don't know the answer to this question. Who is on the state budget committee legislatively from this area? Who will still be on it, I guess is the best question.
Right.
And
Carry the water, have our support.
Because you're gonna have to get a legislator that wants to put it in there.
And Larissa Swit is up for reelection, and she was a representative from the Wabash Huntington area. Andy Zay is involved with
Andy Zay is.
Andy Zay's
is the
gone.
legislator.
Andy Zay's no longer involved as a senator, he's involved otherwise.
Parker is the replacement, correct?
Presumably.
Yeah, so he's totally,
Well, that's what I mean, for.
both Larissa and,
Whoever was the replacement won't be the replacement.
no,
Right.
he lost his, yeah.
Kenny or
Yeah.
whatever.
So-
Legislatively, why wouldn't you hinge on Matt Lehman?
Well, Matt and
He's
Larissa,
about the only constant right now.
yeah,
that there
Matt and
is.
Larissa are the only two who are still in running that know
Matt's
we
been
exist.
around, he knows what avenue to pursue if we're gonna have any success at all.
But I don't know that Matt is on the, like, budget committee or anything.
Right.
Doesn't make any difference, he's got influence.
So,
He knows people.
Yes, I don't disagree. But he's gonna have to get another legislator that's on that budget committee
Co-sponsor.
to sponsor something that isn't in their district.
Right.
That's a big lift.
But we had him, what, 2 years ago in the library, remember, we had a meeting with Matt, so he's not totally oblivious to what. we're
Right.
no,
My suggestion is to pursue it, because if you don't ask, you're certainly not gonna go.
I just wouldn't hold our breath. I guess that's what I'm saying,
hold our breath.
of getting it.
No,
Yeah, you can always try, submit, or whatever, but,
as Blake said, you're going to get no if you don't ask.
but
So, who wants to contact Matt?
I can contact them too.
But I don't know the procedure,
Well,
Take his temperature, ask him,
Yeah.
like, what do you think?
ask him, I've got the letters from 2 years ago. I mean, we can revise it.
If you were on the state budget, if you wouldn't get on the state budget, what's the amount? Who determines the amount that you're asking for?
Well, what we did 2 years ago, and Rod Reckenberger of the Maumee River Basin provided what he submitted as far as a budget, a table with the budget, and that's what we did. I did 2 years ago. Sent off a letter and then sent a proposed 2-year budget. We were just 100,000 for
Is that the
20.
template that he offered for us to use?
Well, he sent information, and I based what we sent, proposed, based on what, using his as a template, but not necessarily his numbers. Because he had different expenses that we have.
Agenda later on, but this is the exact reason we need somebody like Rod on a part-time basis to help us through this kind of stuff.
So, as Jared suggested, do you want to, Matt's in your neighborhood. Do you want to, you want to call Matt and talk with him and say, hey, what's the temperature?
Yeah, and if he says, yeah, apply for it, go ahead, I'll try to work for you. Then
Well, yeah, we'll
Then
send
we'll
him.
get him the numbers.
We'll give him the numbers, give him a letter.
All right.
I'll do the same.
What's that?
I'll do the same. Bump him.
You're gonna talk to Matt too?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Now,
I will too.
Do you know if he's coming to mayor's commissioners in Fort Wayne?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's next week, isn't it?
Yeah.
in 2024, the letters were submitted in December.
Which is probably too late.
So, what would you suggest? Wait till after the election? Or submit before the election?
I think first you take his temperature and you ask him if you think it's got an ice cube's chance of happening. And then we get him the information as soon as possible after that, if he says yes.
Okay, so get back with me.
I will.
I would like to suggest that you prepare that information, saying, assuming he's going to say yes.
Yeah,
And if he says yes, okay, here we go, we get it to him in the next couple of days while it's fresh in his mind. If he says no, then obviously we've wasted a piece of paper and some time of Doug, I'm assuming, who puts this thing together. But Doug's got all the time in the world.
yes.
So, But I would think you would need to be prepared to send it right away if you get a positive response from him.
Well,
Just take what you have and
yeah.
change a few numbers.
We'll try.
But, yeah, he may have information that says, that's not gonna work this year.
Yeah, he
you
might.
know, and then, okay, then we go back.
Stops right there.
Yeah, then we fine, but.
No, I'm ready. It's just a matter of tweaking it. Rod sent me numbers for what he's proposing for the next 2 years, so. We're not unprepared to do that. It's just, like Jared said, let's measure the temperature, see if this is something we should pursue, or if Matt just says, no, the money's not gonna be there. Get the money from the Wabash River Heritage Quarter Cup. Okay, any further comments or discussion about state funding? Okay. All right, Doug has brought up about wanting to hire somebody to do what, being a part-time executive director, part-time watershed coordinator, to do the work that we've been talking about. I sent out to the executive committee, part of Doug proposed doing it by percentage, the watershed percentage per county. And you can correct me on this, but when we were dealing with the revising of the state legislation for the River Basin Commissions last year, they were initially going to say that's how you get funded, by percentage, and we had to tell them that no, we do equal amounts from every county, and that way it got included. So we did the estimates. I sent out the estimates of the acreage for Adams, Hunting, Jay, and Wells County, and the percentage. I think you all have looked at it. I think probably one of the easiest things, hopefully today, is for organizational uses, we probably should decide what is the percentage acreage per county. The numbers vary, but they all seem to run around a certain percentage. Is there any discussion about the percentage of the watershed in each county? Or do I?
Just read them off quickly.
Well, here's 2 copies. So basically, Adams County is 10%, Huntington County is 33%, Jay County is 17%, and Wells County is 40%. I had numbers from the national. Mike Whirling sent me a table. I did estimates based on the 10-digit hydraulic unit codes as designated by the USDA, and then Christopher Burke, gentleman David Eckelberger from Christopher Burke, set his numbers. And they were all basically in the same neighborhood, differed by maybe 1,000 acres, a few thousand acres. But the percentages all pretty much came out to 10, 33, 17, and 40%. So if Adams County wanted to get, as Doug proposed, $7,000 at 10%, then everybody else you can adjust upward. But I think for organizational uses, we've never looked at percentage. Does this group want to determine what we're going to say as percentage of watershed per county?
I will have to speak. I don't disagree with the percentage, although we'll totally disagree because of the Army Corps and the reservoir. We've had this discussion many times. We're off limits because all the reservoir ground, there's oodles of acres that are in that watershed going to the Wabash. But the Army Corps has oversees or takes precedence. So if I, Cheryl, and the rest of our group want to go, and Dave, he's representing the commissioners, if we want to go, I'm going to stop. Dave or Doug, I really appreciate what your pursuit here. I don't think we would have a prayer with our commissioners to ask that kind of money because this percentage, they'll know right away, well, we can't touch that. So just to answer your question, do we agree with the acres? I don't know how to determine what's, the Little River coming to it, the 8 Mile, and then the little bit of the Wabash and everything exiting, part of what the Upper Wabash consists to the end of Huntington County.
Well, I'm gonna say the percentages and the acres, like you say, you have 3 different data sets and one from us on our acreage, and none of the 3 agree with each other, or 4 agree with each other. The percentage is more of a mathematical equation, not whether, it's not a political decision. But we don't know which math is correct. If we're generally gonna, the bigger question is, okay, are we going to go to a funding mechanism that we split it by percentage, and we're not there yet. We haven't decided that yet. Blake's commissioner, I know commissioner's budget, they were given directives, the same as my office was given directives by our county council. Yeah, we're not gonna fund 40% of a watershed coordinator, basin.
I don't think.
It ain't happening here.
Jared,
I mean,
Kyle,
this year, it's not happening.
I agree, I don't think, the percentages, let's deal
Well-
with those. If we could just raise, and Adams County will kick in $5 grand, we've already got a budget. If we could just raise $15,000 to $20,000, Rod Rippenberg would do a lot of work for us.
If Rod is agreeable to doing it
Well,
for
from
us.
what I've talked to him, he would be. Maybe I'm not getting the right vibes, I don't know. All I'm saying is, if we could scrounge up enough money that Rod Workmer would be willing to work for us on a part-time basis, then he would have taken care of what the previous discussion on getting money from the state. That would have been done. He's got the template, he's got the connects, he would have applied. That's just one example of his value.
I don't disagree. There's 2 parts, though. One is the MRBC willing to let him work part-time for us? And then the second part is Rod willing to take on a part-time job?
And I've asked him both of those questions. And the first one, he would have to check with the board.
Right.
And the second one, if the board would grant him the leeway to do that, from what I could gather from him, he'd be willing.
Okay.
I think there's a third part to that too, that he's looking forward for retirement sometime,
Right.
He doesn't have that finalized yet, but he's looking at that.
That's why I wonder, if he's looking at retirement, does he really want to take on another part-time gig?
I would ask him.
He did say that he would be willing to.
We need to have that conversation. I think we need to have that conversation, whether it's Rod or somebody else.
So then, with all that said, yes, I'm in favor of exactly what you're saying. We're about 4 months too late
On your budget.
with getting discussion with our commissioners, so then that way it can be, and then we can be meeting with the council, because we all know cut. That's the whole deal. So I would say, in a simple term, let's table this, so to speak, that we can look more into the acreage or find out what we're talking about, more specific, through the winter, and then February, then that's when we need to really be knowing what we got, and then we can be going to our council and commissioners way ahead of before they're, that we're talking with them. Here's something totally new, and this is what we're trying to do, and it's gonna be, instead of us turning in a $8,000 ourselves, $8,000 or $9,000 budget ourselves. Huntington, I'm looking at Cheryl. I'm with you all the way, Doug. We gotta have, 3/4 the conversation would have been if we'd had, that we've had to this point. Even with Nate, if we'd had a part-time whatever, a lot of this would have been not necessarily cut and dry. We'd have been right to the point what we could or couldn't do.
I suggested this early on in the
Well-
budget process. We're taken care of. Adams County's already committed.
Have you,
Whether
has your
it's this year or
council,
next year.
has your council approved it?
They're gonna approve it.
Has your council approved it?
They haven't had the budget hearings yet in September.
We haven't either.
Ours is on the 20th, so.
I don't think any of us know what is gonna happen
Well,
yet.
I would be very surprised if we've got into commissioner's budget.
I understand that. Your council hasn't approved it yet either.
No, they haven't.
I don't know what is in the commissioner's budget for this. I think what I saw is it's status quo, what it was last year.
We verbally had a conversation behind,
But
just saying it, beware, there might be an additional ask, so.
So,
But we're not
But
there
again,
yet. But we're not there
but
yet.
again, going on percentages to fund, I don't think is the right approach. I think
No.
taking a dollar amount, if you want to bump it from 2 to 4, 2 to 6, whatever. I don't know if you want to stage
Well,
it or whatever. I think it was more.
Let's just say if
appropriate.
everybody was a fourth, 25%. Could everybody afford $7,000?
so I said on,
But that's not enough to get somebody.
If everybody just kicked in 5, we'd be good.
I'm county surveyor and looking outside, looking in at the council and commissioners all the time. And it seems like there's always places to find additional appropriations for $5,000, $10,000. I'm not speaking for anybody, but I know that happens all the time.
It's all the time.
Waiting for another year is always kicking the can down the road.
I just had a question. Those percentages, is that for just phase 1, or is that for phase 2, 3, the whole water?
No, okay,
Whole watershed.
The entire watershed.
okay, go on.
Phase 2, that changed, maybe that's why we took over 319 grant several years ago, because that included then Allen and Whitley and Wabash, and they were not part of the commission, so that's when I was wondering if that
No,
percentages would be spread out more.
the percentages are for the 4 counties, the political boundaries of these 4 counties. This has always been a unique situation. When we were talking to Shane, the representative, about this, it's like we've got a reservoir sitting at the west end, and it's off bounds, but it's part of the watershed. We've got a river that trickles through the northeast corner of Jay County, but drains about a third, half of it, at least a half of the county, which is not perceived by the decision makers in Portland. So it's an unusual situation where you can't say everybody pays their fair share by percentage, because we got these 2 factors that skew that. So part of presenting percentages is like, well, it'd be nice to be able to, up to this point, nobody knew. We didn't deal with percentages. So I thought, well, let's see what the percentages are. If nothing else, it's just a reference. I don't think we'll ever be successful at getting funding based on percentages for what was already been shared.
I just have a basic question so that I understand the math. And we were talking about $7,000 at 10%, at 10%. It's one of the numbers.
I'll use it. Okay.
Okay, so Huntington County is 3.3 times that.
Yep.
So I take $7,000 times 3.3?
Well, I set up,
Was that the way the math would work if we would have done, if we do that way?
yeah, you didn't.
Okay, all right, that's what, I just wanted to make sure I was looking at
And
it
that's
properly.
why it's not happening.
So Huntington County's looking at $23,100.
Ain't half.
That's not gonna happen, you know, yeah, okay. All right, I just wanted to make sure I understood the math.
We could raise around $62,000 based on that math, ideally,
not gonna
to pay a part-time employee.
Why don't we take a simple approach? Why don't we, number one, talk to Rod to see if he'd be interested in working for us part-time to help us with some of this grants, whatever. 2, have Rod go to his board and ask, potentially, would you permit me to work part-time for the Upper Wabash? 3, Adams County has appropriate, we will, once the budget's approved, we've got $5,000 from Adams County that we'd be willing to use for a part-time position here to help us out. Okay, and what Mike said would be, at that point in time, someone from each of the other three counties would have to go before council and ask for an additional appropriation of, let's just say, $5,000 to do what we're talking about. Okay, if two of the other three counties would say, you can talk council into it, then we got 15. Ultimately, the goal would be 20. And tell Rod, we got $20,000. What, how can you help us for $20,000? And if we end up with 15, how can you help us with 15? At least we're off to square one.
I sent out a July 6th email to the executive committee asking, before that, we need a job description. What are we asking them to do? And I sent that out.
Get his job description and pick through it.
Well, I sent out a proposed job description. Just give me the feedback. Send it out to the executive committee. Just give me some feedback on what you want that job description to be. Before we can go ask them, we have to be able to say, here's what we want you to do. We've been spoiled. Stacia did all this, and the next two did it all for us as executive, administrative secretary, fiscal officer. We've kind of run into a lull where we haven't had that now. Okay, so, as far as this idea, I would like to have the executive committee give me some feedback on the job description I sent out. And we can go from there. Contact Rod.
Do you have Rod's job description?
Nobody said anything about Bill.
Call Rod and ask him if he'd send his job description down. And use that as and pick and choose out of his job description what he thinks he could help us with here.
I'd like to have the executive committee tell me what they think should be working here. We're the ones who work here.
That's fine.
I think there's two parts to that. One, you're kind of fixated on Rod doing it, and if Rod doesn't want to, do we still need a person? And the answer is yes. So we've got to go through the motions of a job description. And what the MRBC does and what we do are not the same. They never have been the same. There's a little bit of overlap, but not very much. I think we've got to figure out, one, can we fund? Is there a way to fund it? I'm not terribly optimistic that Jay County is going to fund that. They cut their normal funding from 2,000 to 500. I'm not terribly optimistic that they're going to go ask for an additional appropriation. So it's really the three counties that are going to fund it, if it's going to get funded at all. I don't disagree. But I think you forget about the person that you want to put in that position. What is the position?
I don't think Rod is interested in holding that position. He's more of advisor and,
Sure.
to help us get through that process. I
Sure.
think that's where he's at.
I've had a lot of conversations with Rod over the years, and I see him like heading towards retirement, not heading towards, oh, I want another part-time job. Maybe I'm reading the tea leaves wrong.
No,
But
I think that's right on.
now, do I think he would help a person if we found, would he help and advise and do all of those things? Yes, I do. I think Rod is wired that way.
And he never says no on anything.
Okay?
Doug, for the sake of my technology, could you resend that email request?
Why don't you send it to the whole board?
Okay. Any further comments? Okay. Allen County SWCD. You guys wanna? Julie's been in contact with me about, okay, why don't you guys explain what you're doing? Julie's been in contact with me about this.
Just a quick update about the CWI grant.
Clean Water Indiana.
Clean Water Indiana. We have grant money from ISDA, and it's to help deliver economic and technological support to farmers in the Little River. And one of the things that we're looking at is doing waterway tours each year. It's for a 3-year grant, so we have like $5,000 for waterway tours each year. This year we're looking at Little River, 2027, doing Oblays, kind of like a Put in Bay trip, and then 2028 concentrating on the Eel River. Aiming to get, or aiming, kind of concentrating on farmers and government officials for this, and working with Cheryl on this, and just kind of doing the waterway tours to demonstrate the impact of conservation practices on water quality.
Okay, now Julie explained to me, you're gonna have what we're interested, she's contacted us is because the tour along the Little River and the Wabash River, however far she wants to go downstream on the Wabash River once it hits the confluence with the Wabash. It'd be an all-day bus tour, as she's planning, with stops. You've done this before, I think, to Lake Erie or whatever. Yeah, so this is something that's part of their operation. They've done this before. She just wanted to contact with us, see if, I said, it sounds like a good idea. We can be there supportive, but we can't supply anything other than our support. I thought it'd be a good idea if anybody here wanted to plug in. I thought it was interesting to be able to plug the Upper Wabash River Basin Commission, but the tour, they'd be talking about where to stop on the Little River, where to stop at the Forks, where to stop if you go further downriver. She was talking about getting on the river, but I thought, no, you're probably not gonna get on the river. So, yeah, today, but I thought it was a good opportunity to expose people to the river. So, I just asked Julie if you could have somebody here to update us, and we'll just, I guess, best we can do is just keep in touch, and we'll just keep it on the schedule. So we know that, this is one of the ends, this is the western end of our jurisdiction, and it's past the dam, which is typically, has been pointed out, it's not part of any diagnostic study or whatever, so.
Yeah, timeframe, she said, is definitely after harvest, so maybe possibly November, to kind of open on that.
Okay, anything else?
Just was brainstorming, even Cheryl and I commented a few things. I mean, yeah, all we can say is we can give you support. We're not, it'd have been great if each of us was maybe listed as a partner on the grant. Well, that's not the case, but we're not saying, no, we don't want to help, but just thinking about the whole scheme of things with the Upper Wabash and with Huntington, pretty much once you hit the Wabash County line, that's kind of our scheme of what we're, willing to talk about or help, so to speak. I was trying to think, yeah, we already commented the Forks Wabash. There's a spot past the Forks, almost to Andrews. There's a nice, trying to think of a bus tour, you can't hardly get on the river, so to speak, because you're going to be, other than this rain event, you're pretty much gonna be walking the river instead of dragging your boat, so, and if you're talking about any legislators, they're not gonna wanna be getting in a boat, it would be my perspective. And then, you know, if you're talking all-day event, pretty much from, there at 24, I just lost his name, no, at 24 Jefferson, the water deal at, Ingle Road, the marsh. Yeah, so, I mean, other than there, and then maybe if you found something in the Roanoke area, which would be minimal, and even a place to pull over and just look-see, get off the bus and look-see, and then you gotta go to the Forks. I'm not trying to be negative about the deal, I'm just trying to think logistically, how this is gonna be a good tour. I get what she's wanting to do, but I'm not sure this section, I heard comment maybe even all the way to Monticello, well, that's way out of the, to me, that'd be way out of the realm in this small area. I don't know if I'd wanna get on a bus and just ride on a chartered bus for 4 hours.
Well, Cheryl and Julie and I had a session about this. She's talking like 8 hours, a full day trip. But what I was emphasizing was be able to not only point out conservation practices, but, you know, where the actual watershed is at, where the floodplain's at, which is, you know, get people to stop along the little river and say, hey, you know, this is where the water goes, where it's stored when it floods.
Well, I guess that's what my brain's wrapping around. I mean, other than maybe that tree planting at Andrews and.
Yeah, she talked about that.
Really see.
But there would really be a contrast between the Wabash River in Geneva, and then as it went through Wells Bluffton, and then, you know, Huntington, up to, you know, way down south to Peru and so forth before it hits. The size of that river would be amazing for most people. They wouldn't realize it starts so small and gets so large. That would be an interesting thing.
Well,
They got the grant, and the Allen County SWC got the grant to take a four-way into this, to actually take people out there and show what Mike just described, start with the Little River,
well,
start with the other two.
I was misunderstanding. I thought she was trying to do it just within the Huntington County.
Well, they can explain, it was the All Glaze and the
Well, yeah,
Deal and the.
but they're gonna do them as separate tours, so if that's 3 different deals, how are you gonna get an 8-hour tour out of?
No, they're separate. They're separate, they're not gonna be combined.
Yeah, so my mind was, how are you gonna get an 8-hour tour out of?
Well, I'm
50 miles.
Those two could, I got the feeling Julie was just trying to figure out what to do. She didn't have a specific framework. But anyways, Julie will keep us informed how we can plug, you know, here's what's going on, if we want to plug in.
More details into the October.
Okay. New business. I got an email from an Emily Harris, and she's not here, right? There she is? Okay. You want to share who you are and?
Yeah. It's just a quick introduction, so I won't waste too much of your time. I'm Emily Hayes. I'm the city forester for Huntington. I was hired in last year and was able to get a $30,000 grant from the state of Indiana for tree planting, but also invasive species management. And so with that, a couple of my colleagues and I were thinking about the Little River and all the invasive species that are along it that go through the city. And so Parks and Recreation already does a river cleanup every year for the Little River. And so learning about that last year, I was like, well, let me do, a little bit of invasive species management. And that got me thinking, okay, what are other ways we can coordinate on this to make it more sustainable, not just a one and done, but then everything comes back the next year or the next 5 years. We're going to maintain it and care for it. And so kind of just reaching out to different entities, different places that might have interest in maintaining our waterways and our making everything a little bit better for our communities and for ourselves. So that's when I was notified about this commission, and I reached out to Doug and was just like, hey, what is there here for us to coordinate on, us to collaborate on, even if not specifically right now, at least in the future. So kind of just creating a relationship right now is what my goal is. Yep.
I think it's becoming more, at least my time, seems to be more awareness about the invasive species and restoring the riverbank to more native stuff. So I envision maybe these diagnostic studies that we were talking about earlier that provides the basis to be able to go get grant money. Say, hey, we can stabilize this with like removing the invasives and so.
And as you guys know, I mean, the waterways aren't just within our political boundaries. I mean, I can do what I can within the city, but no matter what, I could treat an area and then have all of those seeds come down from upriver and make me work a little bit harder on it. So any coordination that we can do as multiple entities that have, our little political boundaries, but then working as a greater group, I think that's always a useful thing to do. So the project I have in mind specifically is between, if you've been in Huntington, it's between the Broadway Street Bridge over the Little River and then Bryant Street Bridge. That's where we're going to start. And then seeing how funding and collaboration within our city and within smaller entities within that, trying to keep going down the Little River and manage that space. And so we'll see if there's any way that if any projects come up for your commission that could coordinate with that, that'd be fantastic, and we can see where it goes. But
Is your grant going to be renewable?
I go through the Community and Urban Forestry grant through the state because it's both invasive species management and tree planting. So I can coordinate with putting trees out on Huntington streets while managing the invasive species along public areas. So mine is renewable. It is a match though, and so that's where funding gets a little iffy. There is a Huntington group that's trying to create a SISMA, which is an invasive species management action committee essentially. And with that comes a little bit of state funding. That's also renewable. And but it's going to be it's a long-term project. It's not something that's going to be just one and done. So
I appreciate your contact. Just keep us posted.
yeah.
Within this area that she just described is the only project that Burke described as something that we could tackle, is the removal of the electrical tower
Okay, I was going to ask,
in the Little River. It's
So I was looking on the map where it's located, and that's where that tower is.
that's where that tower is.
That one in the middle?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know anything about that.
Tower's gone,
yeah,
just the base.
The base, yeah, that's what I
But
meant.
it's
the
causing
base.
the log jam and, bank erosion on the north side and this kind of stuff.
So I said they got rid of the tower, they just didn't
Yeah,
get
got
rid
rid
of
of
the
the
base.
tower, just got rid of the base. And I approached the county commissioners and nothing happened, But anyway, that is
No,
the
but
area she's
to
talking.
take out that concrete base requires tearing up one side of that bank, the city side, or the city owns that piece of property. They would have to
Well,
access through there.
it would, tearing it up or making access.
Yeah,
yes,
making
I mean,
access,
Depending on how you want to
making
look at it,
access,
yeah.
and then they'd have to restore it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know,
They'd have to put a boat ramp in there.
yeah, the
So that
proposal
they
is put
could
the
get
kayak
down to
ramp.
the water to get the concrete out, yeah.
Well, there also the proposal to put that kayak launch in there.
Kayak launch.
Yeah, okay, so,
Parking lot.
yeah,
You already tried to help us on that, didn't you, Doug?
So anyway, that
I,
was just-
I saw your smirk. I'm sorry, I didn't.
yeah, I know, we did.
It might come around yet. Give it another few years.
Never know.
Well, yeah, any of that historic stuff, I've only been here for a year, so I'm still learning about any projects that could have started but didn't go anywhere, because,
Well, when you look at that concrete foundation, it's been, people know, we've tried to deal with it.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, so, yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay.
all right, thanks.
Dave, did you want to bring up,
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the Forks of the Wabash board, and it was brought to my attention, and something that I've known about for years, is that we have an area, we have a pathway, and some of you have been there, some of you haven't, along the Wabash River from the Forks, basically, down to Range Line Road, which is about half, 3/4 mile. Part of that pathway is in danger of being eroded away because there's a log jam, but it diverts the river dramatically in a very short period of time right toward the bank, and it is being eroded, and eventually, one of our board members said within the next 5 years, I don't know that that's the case, but eventually it will take out the pathway, which is a very heavily used recreational area in Huntington. I said I would bring it up, and I don't know what we can do. I don't know, I've talked to Doug about it, and I think maybe Doug's gonna come and look at it for me. Beyond that, I just wanted to bring it up and see if we had any ideas to help with that particular section. And as I said to Doug before the meeting, I'm not aware that from the Wabash County line to where the Little River joins, that area's ever been studied.
no, there's been no
So-
diagnosis. study.
Or,
I was always under the impression that our jurisdiction, our boundary stopped at the reservoir
at what?
at the dam.
Roush Lake.
Roush Lake.
So half of Huntington County is not included.
Well,
It goes
I was always under that impression. Whether it truly says that in the enabling statute or not, that, we need to look.
It doesn't.
Because that surely changes these numbers if half of our county is not included.
I would agree.
You know, so
I would
anyway.
agree.
I just wanted to bring it up and see what kind of comments there were, see what we could do, and with Doug here, maybe that's where we need to go right now. I don't know.
But I would agree, that area has not been studied if that is part of our jurisdiction.
Correct. We've never had a,
Yeah, I'll agree
from
with
the,
that.
from the dam to the state, to the county line, that's never been part of a diagnostic study or a watershed management.
Yeah.
Right, the little,
We've got the watershed management plan for that phase 2. It's waters
from the dam to the,
into Wabash.
that's included with the little, what, the one that we, okay. So, all right, so, yeah,
There has been something.
let's see if we can coordinate something. I mean, what you're proposing, that's what happened with the other watershed management plans. We got the studies pointed out some problem areas, and we got them corrected. Got them funded and corrected. Okay, Katie passed, she's not here, but she said something about we need to pass a resolution about internal controls. And I read through this, I suppose I should, we look at them now, or do you just want to wait till next meeting? She,
Email it out.
email it out. She said something about it, and I'm like, well, we did this last year, so I'm not sure what she was, she's out of town for now. Okay, any public comments?
I
Watershed Development Commission, or did that kind of get dropped? Because I know way back in, I think the April meeting, you guys said you would see that, because it could potentially solve some of your funding issues. Did that not get addressed? Just wondering.
I think the consensus is nobody wants to ask for a new tax.
Just double
And that's been the consensus since that law got passed. So, unless there's been, City of Bluffton imposed the wheel tax without asking about it, so, there may be a change of climate here. But I would assume, unless somebody wants to comment, nobody wants to abolish the Upper Wabash River Basin Commission and go to a development commission that says, here's the new assessment tax on your property. Unless somebody wants to comment.
I don't know that anybody's officially like
I just
talked
remember
about it at a
Doug
commissioner
saying
meeting
that
anywhere.
you would go to your commissioners
No.
to see if you were interested, because I brought up, you guys could have fun.
In passing.
I mean, yeah, it's, I don't know.
Passing, but not in a public forum
Yeah,
to
I don't know
actually
that any,
formally.
I don't know that any of the commissioners for any of the counties have really discussed it.
What's the history of across the state going on with the watershed development commissions?
Black Rock Haw is talking about it right now. So Rush, Henry, Fayette, Shelby County, they're all talking right now. We've been to Bartholomew, Decatur. We've talked with Henry and Rush commissioners. They're all kind of getting together and sort of talking about writing an ordinance. So there may be another one.
Okay. Are you gonna be at the White River
I will
Alliance
not.
Summit tomorrow, next week? Next
DNR
week,
does
okay.
not have money to send.
All right, we'll see if that should, I'm planning to be there for the 2 days.
Stop by our offices.
I want to see what else is, see if they bring that up. That's part of it. Okay. Any other comments? Agenda for, our next meeting is October 14th. Other than what we've talked about already, is there anybody who wants something else on there? Welcome back, Phil. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Blake. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those who want to stick around? Thank you.
So, hey, Dave. Motion second.
2, 6.
You were referring to, I have it on my map, is it on the island portion?
Well, no,
or is it-
where the,
607.
no, it's between the island and the trail. It's down here, right there where that, right here, is where it's at.
That's you, right?
The water, the water comes down through the channel, we call it a channel.
Well, the channel looks like it's up here.
Yeah,
Pedestrian bridge.
At low positive, and they'll give you calls for these numbers.
Not quite like it.
Yeah, there's the bridge, there's the Basin Bridge.
Yep.
And then you go on down,
If you do send
and
it,
right here,
Not sure I can
between
get
all
all
the
day
right
shipping.
hand, two right hand, two 90-degree
we're
turns.
asking for 2 months.
Water comes down there, hits that, and then bounces over here.
I just sent you a
And
text,
right
my
there is
name.
where
I
it's
don't
at.
text.
I know, yeah.
Right at that point.
Nope.
Sometimes,
Yeah, and it's,
People want me to find
it's a 10-foot high bank,
So I gotta call you?
down 50 feet, and the bank
my
drops
business
off.
card, don't text, call.
We can buy that on my way to West Lafayette. Actually, on Saturday, that's where we're going
Get
to.
around
So
what I
if
have.
I got time, I'll stop by and take it.
Yeah, I mean, you can, well, I've got the parking lot there before.
I can only see what's on my.
Head down the asphalt trail.
Congratulations.
I don't need to get that on my
From
phone.
Range Road back quarter mile.
And I've never created an
But
email.
yes, I plan on being
Yeah,
out there
it's
a
almost
little
in the
bit
middle
anyway. The
between
studies
our
are happening on
buildings
my
and
farm.
My hometown, education, never
It's still a
have
big
trees
part of it.
Yeah, it's about the middle.
Okay. All right, thanks.
You gotta
I just had to back away from something.
I replied to thousands of them.
Okay, because I send you messages.
Yeah, and I replied.
Yeah, you do. That's,
So I don't send emails, I don't create emails.
It's so interesting, and
okay.
him having a USGS study out there, that's almost unheard of in that scale. I know. And, you know, we've been involved in that with Allen County for all the years. But that small scale, that just has not happened before.
Okay.
So, it's really good.
Katie's new. She just started last year. Up to her, we had a little problem with
And 3 years ago.
she succeeded. What do we do? Kind of into a ghost situation, and things weren't done, and it was just chaos. But before that, our executive, the person that took care of things was the executive administrative secretary. We had pretty good ones, and then just ran into a wall. What's going on? Nobody knew. That person disappeared. So we'll get, Katie wants to do right.
Matt
So
Lynn,
we'll
so hopefully
get
he
it
can
worked
call
out.
me when it
So,
fits in his schedule.
no, we'll,
Stay in contact periodically.
yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for what you do here, too.
It gives people what
Yeah, I have to
they
get it,
need.
maybe everything together.
319, something's gonna
Yeah, and it makes it.
The wheels turn,
It makes a wonderful screen and sound barrier.
project, we want a
The
project.
sign there
Well,
says no.
it takes a while to get,
Yeah.
But most semi-drivers can't read it. And so,
well, we've gotten four down.
mile down
One was
there.
directly through you
Yeah,
guys.
I've talked to.
One was
gardeners and lieutenants.
Jay and Adams County got together using the information we gave them. The other was the state came in and straightened out
Gonna replace them.
Yeah.
You know,
on their
I mean, we
own.
have to have some kind
But
of
it's after
native
we
growth
promoted
that
them,
can come
audited
up
them, and
enough
said, hey, and then the Parks Department here in Bluffton used one of the studies to go get a lair grant to stabilize the
Well,
bank.
yeah, yeah, right.
So it's not like just one down, no, we've got,
That's right, that's right.
but we're working with a budget, well, you see our budget. So it's like, you know, we do pretty good for the, I send that to the county commission, so for every dollar you give us, we've gotten, it used to be $8, now it's down to $6, because we haven't tried. It's like, it's like, well, you know,
Yeah, and it's the point of, it's talking about kind of spending tax dollar money or being frugal. It's like, here, you're getting 80% of your money right here in front of you.
well, that's what sold Adams County was, well, we get this project done, commissioners, well, all you gotta do is pay this amount of money, you're gonna get this amount of money to get that bend fixed, that's eating into the road there. Oh,
They're not doing anything about it.
okay. Yeah, they used the same, they said the same thing you did. Okay, well, if we spend this, we're gonna get that, okay.
Right. Yeah, I'd like to think that's good for getting money out there, so.
It's, well, you better, it's like, you think you can explain things logically and, and common sense, then you realize you're dealing with some decision makers that don't see things common sense and logically.
Yeah. Either way, we'll move forward. Get something on the ground eventually.
Okay, thank you.
It was good meeting you in person finally. We'll keep in touch.
Take care, Nate.
Hey, good to see you, Doug.
What, you looking for entertainment or what?
Well, you know, I've been wanting to come back just to, because I'm still interested. And finally, you know what, it was supposed to be rainy here today. And so,
You think it rained?
yeah, and I thought, hey, dude, I'm just gonna run over and see what's going on, and I saw the agenda. But you know what, in the paper, it didn't give the time. I knew the time, but it didn't say the time.
Which paper?
Burn Witness, or Burn Tri-Weekly. I don't think anybody reads
We, with the drainage board, we try to get our agendas in there and stuff, and then what they write, I said, was I at that meeting?
Yeah, well, on building and plan and BZA, I read that through something, I think, I don't think it went quite that way.
Yeah, I must have not been there, maybe I dozed off a little bit.
Yeah, right. So, do you have an executive secretary still, or is it gone?
Yeah, no, Katie's here. She's just not here today.
Okay, I wondered about that.
And
because I didn't see
I'm hoping she's not getting overwhelmed. She's, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, she's good.
Yeah.
And we're kind of stumbling, it's like two dance partners who don't know the moves, but, you know, like, she's like, what do I do? And I'm like, I think you should do it this way, you know, because I don't really, you know, I filled in for a while, but it's like, I'm like, you just do it. And so we're kind of stumbling along, trying to figure out, well, do you do it this way, do it that way? she's got, there's a family health issue that's come up. I'm not sure exactly what it is, and then they were out of, I mean, she's in a farming family. And
Yeah.
so she's out of town right now at something
I've got an answer.
for,
$150,000 a year, full-time, full-time individual and an executive secretary. And you got something, then it works. Oh, my.
you know,
Yeah, I know.
I'm not sure, it's hire Rod.
Yeah, well,
I don't think Rod's gonna wanna.
No, he wants to be an advisor.
Yeah.
That is his perfect spot.
The right thing is, and you had it, get a job description, then let's find the person, but let's find the money before we even find the person, so we can hire someone.
Well, yeah, that's my point is, okay, I gotta get a job description. I'm not gonna say, hey, can you come work for us? Well, what am I gonna do? And I sit there, well, here's what I want you to do, and the commission goes, no, that's not, we want it this way. But the other thing is, well, how much you gonna pay us? Well, we're working on that. We're working on that.
Do you want me to write them up, or can she?
I can
You want to
read
do it, or you would do it? Okay, that's what I was gonna, I'd offer if you wanted.
I couldn't read, what I'll do is I'll photocopy this.
And then, you always have the meeting